believe they are his private RVs. He does not do this for profit. He stays there periodically. He lives in Boca Raton, Florida. When he comes up here, he has not used it this year at all. This is just a private area for him to be able to use his RV on his 1,200-acre farm. And the reason we have to do that is because of the way the ordinance is written in Caroline County. And in an effort to comply with the ordinance, if you look at your ordinance, and I've talked to the county attorney about this, it's any area that is occupied and intended or designed or improved for temporary occupancy by individuals using recreation vehicles or tents or motorhomes. Basically, if you want to camp on your own property in Caroline County, you got to have a special exception to do it. So we're here asking for that. He will not have it other than his family or his friends utilize it. It will not be for profit. It will just be for his private, personal use. He also stores them there. So when he's here 3 or 4 times a year at most for 4 or 5 days at a time, he'll be utilizing the RV. Otherwise, it's sitting there in storage. But when you store them, you got to have electricity, water to them, so forth and so on. Mr. Chairman, the only other thing I would ask is we agree with all the conditions that staff put in this, except I would ask for you all to reconsider condition number 6, and it's found on your report at page 4. And this calls for renewal after 1 year. And I hate to bring up a dead horse, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because I know you all are been here a long time. But if my client meets the criteria to camp on his 1,200-acre farm, I'm not sure why we would want to have to reapply every year to do that. And as you heard before, you've got to reapply 4 months after you get approval to start the process to get through. And I heard the discussion regarding the other application and the difference between a renewal and a review. The fact of the matter is, and you have extremely able counsel sitting at the table, and I would never seek to give you all legal advice, you don't need either of that. At any time, you can send Mr. Fincham or any other agent of the county into a piece of property where you have a special exception. You can ask him to see what's going on there, and if they're not in compliance, you can bring it back to the board and you can revoke that special exception. So all these are unnecessary, and it's just another step that you put on yourselves to ensure compliance on these. If anybody violates a term in a special exception, you all have the authority to revoke that special exception, and you don't have to put provisions for renewals or reviews. I don't want to go on because I know you've been here all night. I just want to make it clear it's just for his private use. This is not a for-profit operation, and it's just for his RVs that he's going to keep there. And I'll answer any questions you have.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding this public hearing? Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding this public hearing?
Good evening again.
Good evening.
And contrary to popular belief, I am not always speaking against everything that you guys bring before here. Usually if I'm not here, I'm either agreeing with what you're doing or it's not close enough to affect me that much. Anyway, my name's Joe Parker. I still reside at 19491 Tidewater Trail, Port Royal Voting District. We live and operate a business directly across from the Moss Neck property. My problem with this campground is that the owner says he's only there a few times a year. Who's minding the store, so to speak, when he is not there? At the Planning Commission meeting, there were questions about personal property tax on the trailers there, as well as how long can people stay there. Those were not really answered very well. And again, who's going to check on this to see if they're in compliance? Is there a entity that goes around and checks things like that for the county? I don't know. That's why I'm asking. This landowner has twice been issued a cease and desist order for illegally mining sand and gravel and for illegally operating this campground. The Zoning Appeals Commission voted 6-0 to uphold the violations. This company has a history of doing things illegally, then getting caught, then begging forgiveness, and then asking for permission. That is the wrong order, don't you think? That's not the order things should work. In my opinion, I'd just say no based on history. If you do approve this, please do what you can to keep an eye on them, because apparently they can't be trusted. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak regarding this public hearing?
Emmett Sneed, 18294 Tidewater Trail, Fredericksburg, Virginia, 22408. I've known Larry Silver. I went to high school with him, and now I'm lucky enough to have him as a neighbor. We share a border that's 1.5 miles long, and I just wish that all my neighbors were half as reasonable as he is. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak regarding this public hearing? Is there anyone else who'd like to speak regarding this public hearing? Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding this public hearing? Seeing no one with the desire to speak, I will declare the public hearing closed. Board members have questions regarding this special exception?
Yeah, on this one.
Mr. Thomas?
Mr. Fincham,
Yes, sir.
we've discussed renewal and review repeatedly, and I think we almost understand. In this particular case, what is the investment that you would know? There's no real investment at this particular site. They've already built the pad sites, so it's just a matter of them pulling RVs there onto the pad sites. So, in your opinion, there's no issue with the review because there's no capital outlay at stake, right?
I think the issue is the construction of the single-family dwelling for which a permit has been issued and why a campground or these camping facilities are needed once the certificate of occupancy is issued for that single-family dwelling.
You brought up a totally different subject. but okay. I think I understand. Thank you.
Mr. Black, you have a question? Oh, I'm sorry, were you through, Mr. Thomas?
I am definitely through. Thank you.
Mr. Black?
All right, can you just kind of, I just got a couple questions. Can you take me through, I asked you on the last one, the same thing, the history behind this, how we've gotten here, so I'm very clear on that. What is the reason for the issue of the NOV? Let's start there.
Some years back, and I don't have the exact time, we received a complaint about certain improvements on the property. There was some confusion in the file in terms of the actions of or inactions of the then zoning administrator. We had received another complaint, discussed the issue with the county attorney, and it was determined that in fact the language from the previous zoning administrator's letters did not address the campground issue itself, or it was vague enough that it did not appear that the then zoning administrator had authorized the improvements. So a notice of violation was issued subject to that or based upon that complaint that had been received. The applicant appealed the notice of violation to the Board of Zoning Appeals, which upheld the issuance of the NOV. And then the applicant subsequently appealed the BZA's decision to the circuit court, which it is still pending in circuit court at this time. On a parallel tract, after the BZA's decision, the applicant came in and applied for a special exception permit under the appropriate sections of the ordinance, seeking to receive approval of the special exception permit to allow those facilities to continue and be permitted as a campground under our definition.
I guess my question is this. Let me say that Joe, whoever, camper, and I go out and I want to go out and buy an RV. Okay, I have a piece of property, it doesn't matter where in Caroline County, especially, let's say, outside of the subdivision. So let's take Lake Landor out of it, but I want to go buy an RV on my property. I have a house and I want to put the RV on my property. If I go to the county right now and ask for an electric hookup, or ask for sewer hookup, what's going to happen?
The answer would be no.
The answer right now is no.
That's correct.
And I'm going to ask you this as well. Do we know in other counties, is that a common theme in other counties?
I cannot definitively tell you that other counties don't do or don't allow a single RV hookup on vacant property. I really can't address that issue. So I'd feel more comfortable just speaking to our own regulations. I couldn't tell you whether they would issue a permit or not.
So we don't know that. What would stop me, just out of curiosity, what would stop me if from renting, like from that point on, I could make that a rental property? What would stop me from doing that?
Notwithstanding the fact that converting it to a rental facility would violate the ordinance, it would require discovery on our part, either through a complaint or to happen upon that rental unit and finding that it was in fact being used as a rental unit or in a manner that it was not permitted to be used for. So it would be it could in theory be done. It might still be a violation. That violation could go undiscovered for some period of time.
Okay, my last question is this type of violation that the NOV has this been common? Has this been something that's been common in Carolina over the last several years, or is this kind of a...
No, I don't think, we occasionally receive complaints about RVs being used for occupancy. I seem to recall there was one not too long ago over off of Anderson Mill Road. So we receive complaints on occasion about the use of RVs for permanent occupancy. In effect, a third or fourth or fifth bedroom or something like that. So it happens on occasion.
Okay, thank you. That's all for now.
Mr. Underwood? Mr. Akers? Mr. Seeley?
Yes, sir. I want to go back even a little further. They referred to this as a 1,200-acre piece of property. And take me through, is it 1,200 acres or is it no longer 1,200 acres?
It is two separate parcels, I believe.
But it was a minor subdivision done to create that?
There was a subdivision that split the 1,200 into two parcels, yes, sir.
You know when that took place?
I don't have the exact date. It was done within the last 12 to 18 months.
Okay,
The applicant might have that date.
that's fine. So we're actually talking about 2 parcels. Well, that's fine.
On the 1,200, for the 1,200, yes.
Okay.
In terms of this permit application, no, it's still just one
Just one,
parcel.
it's parcel, and so it's the smaller of the 2.
Yes, sir.
So on that smaller parcel that these campsites are on, correct? That's where they're on the smaller parcel.
Yes, sir.
There are also 2 houses that are rented.
Yes, sir.
There is 1 building for the Hunt Club that has a conference room, a bedroom, and a bathroom.
I can't speak to whether that's for a hunt club or not, but there
It's
is...
another building that
Yes, sir.
has a conference room, bedroom, bathroom. There are 3 tenant trailers that were moved there over a year ago, sitting alongside Burma Road. We had to, that was
Three farm tenant structures.
trailers, okay? There's an 1,800 square foot garage conditioned for the storage of the RV, as we were told. I mean, he didn't tell us it was conditioned, I've found that out. There's a workshop on this parcel. Part of this parcel is also, I believe, part of the sand and gravel permit that was granted
Yes, sir.
some time ago. There's a 10,000 square foot storage building, and there are at least 24 hog pens that were put up some time ago. So this is all on the same piece of property that we are looking at to have 5 campsites. And then across from these campsites, I understand there's a permit to build a 26,000 square foot home, 12 bedrooms and 14 bathrooms. And we still are looking at 5 campsites.
Yes, sir. That is a request pending before you.
But the rest of this, there is a permit for a structure.
It was just issued last week. Yes, sir.
No, but it's still part of the 1,200 acres. That's all I have, thank you.
Any other questions? No, just me. Okay, the one question that I have is, this is a scenario. I have a family reunion. My nephew comes from Chicago, he has a RV. He drives, parks it, he stays in it the weekend, he leaves Sunday, and he goes back to Chicago. He doesn't have to have a permit to do that. What's the difference?
Here you have 5 permitted sites, not 1.
So I got 5 nephews with camp. Seriously, I'm trying to see, I mean, people bring campers in, and and they spend a weekend at a parent's home or whatever. They come from out of town, they drive a camper, and they park it for a day or they park it for 2 days, and they leave and go back to where they live. What is the difference?
I simply go back to the improved pad site, Mr. Taylor.
Okay. Other questions? Motion is in order.
I make a motion to deny application SPX 04-2015 Moss Neck Manor LLC's request for campgrounds.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and properly seconded, we deny special exception 04-2015 Moss Neck Holdings. All in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All against, nay.
Nay.
Mr. Thomas, how do you vote?
I vote nay.
Mr. Black?
I vote aye.
Mr. Underwood?
I vote nay.
Mr. Akers?
Nay.
Mr. Sealy? And I vote.
I vote
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought
nay.
you. And I vote nay. Okay.
Mr. Taylor, I'm going to change my vote from yay to nay with a possible reconsideration at our next board meeting.
Another vote is in order. I would like to move, that motion failed. So I am moving that we approve special exception 04-2015 Moss Neck Holdings LLC applicant and owner.
Second.
We moved and properly second that we approve special exception 04-2015 for Moss Neck Holdings as presented. Mr. Thomas, how do you vote?
But I,
Mr. Black?
this discussion, we're saying with the one-year review, right?
As
We're
presented.
leaving the
yeah.
one-year review in?
Yeah.
Okay, I vote aye.
Okay.
Is that a review or renewal? A review or renewal?
Whichever one is stricter, or more strict.
That would be renewal.
Okay, are we saying renewal? Is that what the board is saying?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, Mr. Thomas, how do you vote?
Vote aye.
Mr. Black?
Nay.
Mr. Underwood? Aye. Mr. Akins?
Aye.
Mr. Mr. Sealy?
Nay.
And I vote aye. The motion carries 4-2. Okay, unfinished business.
At least now.
Presentation of bids received for tax exempt and bank qualified lease.
Mr. Taylor, I'd like to change my vote to aye, and I would still like the option of a possibility of reconsideration next board meeting.
You may change your vote, but the vote has already been taken. Okay.
No, my vote has been changed to aye, so it makes it 5 ayes,
Okay.
1 nay, with the possibility to reconsider it next board meeting.
You don't have to explain that, Mr. Sealy.
That's true. Okay, unfinished business. Unfinished business. Presentation of bids received for tax exempt and bank qualified lease review refunding bonds series 2015. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Doug Gebhardt, and I'm with Davenport and Company. I'm here representing Courtney Rogers, who sends his apologies he can't make it tonight. As you recall, we came to your November board meeting requesting permission to distribute an RFP to potentially refinance the Series 2005 bonds and add some new money for fire trucks and sheriff's cars. And I believe the presentation will be going up on the board shortly.
Yes, sir.
Great. Flipping to page 2 is, this will become relevant as we go further into the presentation, but as you can see, over the past 6 months, interest rates have been relatively volatile. On the left-hand side, you can see the 10-year U.S. Treasury over the past 6 months, where it's risen quite drastically over the past week, but since June has fluctuated quite a bit. And then on the right-hand side, it is the Treasury rates as of last week. The 10-year Treasury is not what municipal bonds are priced off of, but it's a good indication on where things have. So you can see there's quite a big spike on Friday. So as I mentioned earlier, on Friday, November 13th, Davenport, we sent out an RFP to refinance the Series 2005 bonds, which was going to have a rate reset in January. So the goal was to lock in that interest rate for the remainder of the term, potentially purchase a new fire truck and 10 sheriff's cars. On December 2nd, we received 5 bids, which is a testament to the county's strength. Typically, we receive anywhere from 1 to 3 proposals. So 5 is a great turnout, and we are very happy with the results. BB&T, Capital One, Signature Public Funding, Sterling National Bank, and Union Bank. Signature Public Funding and Sterling are out of New York City, and the others are relatively local banks. A detailed summary of each proposal is in the appendix for your review, if you have further questions. Page 3, as it might be hard to see on this screen, but we highlighted and put in green the BB&T 15-year rate of 2.67%. That's the rate we're going to be recommending today. And this was just to give you a sense of where all the bids came in, and quite frankly, all 5 bids came in much lower than what we had anticipated in the November meeting. So it was a great turnout. You may look in the Union Bank, you will see a potentially lower rate on the 15 and 17 year. We italicized that. We wanted to note that those rates were not fixed. They were subject to change between now and a date to be determined, and Union was unable to provide us when the rate lock would occur, and with the potential Fed increasing short-term interest rates in their December 15 and 16th meetings, we weren't comfortable moving forward with those given the interest rate uncertainty. Also, those rates were subject to a make-whole call provision, which is another thing that gave us concern. What a make-whole call is, it essentially eliminates the ability to refinance if rates are lower. If rates are higher, there's no penalty, but we wouldn't refinance in that case. Flipping to page 4 is a summary of the BB&T proposal. They said they'll give us a 15-year fixed rate at an interest rate of 2.67. It's going to be prepayable at any time with 1% for the first half and then par thereafter. A few minor costs for closing. It is subject to credit approval, but that's something that all banks are doing these days, and that does not bring us any concern. And as we will have to close by mid-January, but we're going to plan on doing that prior to calendar year end in order to preserve the bank qualified status of the loan. So what we did is, as you saw earlier, we asked for 15 and 17-year rates. By having a 15-year rate, we were able to shorten up the amortization. The current loan, which you'll see on the left-hand side, had 17 years left outstanding at an interest rate of 3.9%. By shortening it 5 years and having an interest rate almost 1.25% lower, we're able to amortize basically 2 years shorter at virtually no cash flow impact. You see on the right-hand side, the cash flow will increase slightly, as in your debt service will increase by about $6,800 annually. But based upon conversations with staff, that was a level that we were comfortable absorbing. And this scenario also did provide the highest gross savings of over $626,000 over the life of the loan. You may ask, well, what was the lowest 17-year rate if we want to not shorten it up? Well, you would get more cash flow savings in a given year of about $14,000. However, you'd end up paying approximately $390,000 of additional interest. So it helps on the cash flow side, but it increases your overall interest payments by paying interest for 2 more years at a higher interest rate. Any questions?
Board members have questions?
Not yet.
Okay, you will continue and
Yes,
then
sir.
you'll do it when you finish. Okay.
Yes, sir. So here's a breakout of the debt service. The left-hand side, column 1, is just what the debt service associated with the rate reset. The second column would be the fire truck, which we amortized over 10 years to match the useful life of the asset. And the sheriff's car was in the fourth column, which would be about $95,000 annually over 4 years, which again was to match the useful life of that asset. So this would be the estimated debt service on this bond. So Davenport's recommendation in conjunction with county staff would be to accept the BB&T proposal and move forward with the 2.67 interest rate. What that does is it has the lowest 15-year interest rate. It provides the highest savings number of $626,000, or over 7.5% net present value savings. The interest rate